And I'm like, well, we should be navigating and doing business. But I feel you, Noble. That's what I tell everybody. We're not here to force teachings on anyone. You know, these teachings is a gift, and so we make that clear. But let me see. There's one more thing I need to get. What was it? Nah, I'm good. We're gonna jump right into it. But your Fezz is done, James. Like I said, I'm just waiting for a lot of the literature to come in because I've been buying stuff by the book as students and members steady sending their dues in and their pledges. So I'm buying things by the book. So Moors like yourself and a few other Moors that's pledged their whole initial fee, I'm sending everything at one time. So everybody packages is coming. But like I said, I'm a one man and one emperor show at the moment. I just got my cousin out here. She moved out here, so we're going to be doing things together. So it's always good to have extra hands. But we rocking and rolling, man. So let's get into this teaching. First, like I said, Morris, I always like to start off with things that I feel. Can you guys hear me? That's the first thing. I just want to know, can everybody hear? If you can hear, say Islam. I don't even know if Morris can hear it. That's what if you can hear, say Islam. Before I proceed. I guess nobody said they couldn't hear, so good. Oh yeah, we got some new stuff popping off too, Noble. Like I told you, everything is on going to be jumped on YouTube too. So check it out on YouTube. I'm just trying some stuff, but my camera, this camera, I'm gonna switch it because I got some professional cameras and stuff that I'm gonna start using. But it's clear on YouTube. I don't know why I ain't going live, but that's another story. YouTube won't let me go live, but it's all good. But once I start doing other things, once I get my camera set up the right way, I got to get one more device that have the setup like my camera that I'm doing on YouTube, so it can be just straight up and solid. And it's just another post, but that's what we doing, man. And then once members start doing things the right way, once our dues and our pledges start coming in, like I told Morris, I already got a physical temple in the works where we would be at, where Morris can come to when they come visit, you know? And we already got the land. So it's just things that we can do the right way so we don't have to talk about it, we can be about it. And it's just, I always tell Morris, what you spend your finances on is the whole thing. And I understand your finances. I don't buy a whole bunch of clothes and things. I don't need that. I'm an adult. I buy things that's worth value. You know, and I bring people together and I'm like, we can do so much together. We don't understand it. And the laws protect us. So let's get into this little teaching. I just always like to open up with a few prayers and benediction so we don't get things twisted. So I put things in the right atmosphere and then we get right to the teaching. But a lot of opening prayer. The Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. Allah is my protector, my guide and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen. Shalom Aleichem. Asha'aya. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you. Come on, we have to know whatever name you give glory to your higher self, you do that. Because a prophet comes in the voice of the people. We got to understand these things. That's why I said we got to understand the teachings, the God teachings and the teachings that was for the so-called slave or the servant. It's a difference. You must understand these things. Our Al-Fatiha, our opening prayer, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds, the benefit, the merciful, master of the day of requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. We're talking about that God within, Morris. I hope y'all are not getting it twisted. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor. not those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray, Moors. Right? So let me stop right there. I want to see something. I'm just trying to see something. There's some things that I want to, hold on. Hold on, Morris. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. But yeah, man. I always like to set things in the atmosphere. I also like to finish with another benediction so we can get things clear. Because this is about us, man. But may the benison of Allah be upon thee and thine always, as thou should strive to be a credit to Allah. When I say Allah and more science, that's manifestation of man. Arm, leg, arm, head. When I say Islam and more science, I'm speaking of I, self, law, and master. We have to correct these teachings, man. We have to correct these teachings. Make haste to bestow thine acts of love upon all our brothers. And we must do our best to shun all evil ones. We must know the difference in what we're doing, man, and the confusion. Remember to take suckle of the breast of knowledge, wisdom, fortitude, charity, love, and all standing, that we all might nourish the souls of all men, women, and children. Let the truth be thy shield in the manifest battles of falsehood, and know that we need not to pick the lock to gates of paradise, Moors, by means of petty or criminal theft. For behold, Moors, the key to salvation already rests within our own hands. And yes, Moors, even though a portion of our nature is weakness, instability, inconsistency, there is still the greater part of our nature that is divine. May Allah, may Buddha, may Confucius, may Yeshua, whatever name you give him praise in that manifestation, may he preserve you, strengthen you, and give you everlasting life, man. So those are things that, when I tell Moors, we can believe in sustainability. And that's the essence of everything, to where we don't get into the dilemma or into the concept of dissing things that we don't understand. Because when I talk about the essence and when I talk about synchronicity, when I get into nature, because that's what we're talking about. If we connect it to nature and the father of civilization, when I'm talking about man, and when I'm talking about this physical manifestation, I'm talking about coming from the great God. See, that's what I don't understand what Moors is confused about. When we talk about this more science teaching, which is a synchronicity of science. I mean, this science can be cross-referenced. See, Moors get it outside themselves when you let somebody say they're a scholar. And when I say, I understand all the science, but it comes from a source. And if you're a scholar, that's just like when you in universities, when we do peer-reviewed scholarly research. I understand that, but we give credit to the original thought. So just like I always tell Moors, Noble Ali never said he, the author of anything. He said he gathered and compiled. The science, it's the teachings, Moors. And then it's the vessel that makes it holistic. I hope you following me, man. I hope Moors following what I'm saying. I hope Moors following what I'm saying. So before I get in these teachings, I have to always talk about this here. And this is this Moors Holy Quran. This is something that's dear to my heart. It should be dear to your heart. Any more talking about what should I study? And they say they studying the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, and they're not studying the book that the prophet gathered and compiled that come from ancient history, and you picking up some black laws, which is a dictionary. I know you're starting to operate wrong. Because this is a holy and divine and national movement. And so it's things that should be done in a proper manifestation. So if we're not teaching this Holy Quran, which is how to correct ourselves and humble ourselves and how to be in this world, something is wrong. So let's give a little intro of the introduction to the Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1 to 19. Like I said, this is what you're going to get in school. A lot of times a person can read something, but they don't understand what they're reading or having a great, how can I say it, a concept of what they read and put it in your own words. What we do in a university, like for instance, when I was getting my master's, you can take a class and pass all your homework, whatever. But then if you don't pass the capstone, you fail a class. And a capstone is putting all your research and all the stuff that you've done in the course of whatever months, or if you did, how can I call it? They call it I forget crash course, but I was in advanced where mine was just months. I think my semester was like 2 months. I was in like, I forget what they call it. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. So those things must be in line. But the divine salvation section chapter principally covers the genealogy. And this is what I'll be asking Moors. I'll be like, what is this Quran? What did this Moorish Quran talks about? We're going to talk about it. But chapter 1 and 19, it covers the genealogy of the prophet Jesus. The events, the life, the works, and the teachings in India, Europe, and Africa, which occurs before he was 30 years old. Some call these teachings the 18 missing years of prophet Jesus, which some site like to call the Aquarian Gospels. But I keep showing y'all this stuff is just repeated stories. It's just repeated stories. And then once you get down with the synchronicity, you stop dissing stuff and you understand the science. And no one's telling you religion, but we understand the essence. And that's one of the key principles of the triple rows of the Adapt Chamber. I hope y'all follow me, man. Right? Come on. How can somebody did something? And that's how I know Moors haven't studied their Moorish Quran. They say they studying the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. I said, no, you're not. You talking some stuff. You reading a dictionary thinking you can practice medicine. And that is not what's happening. Although truth is but one. But what we did, we're not giving an interpretation of various chapters and verses when we talking about our Quranic study guide. The moral of the precepts found in these chapters can be demonstrated in various degrees. When I tell Moors, when they talk about there's some chic and some this, and then we say, well, this is about master and self. So let's deal with it. It ain't about somebody talking about they appointed you. That's politics. But it's demonstration in the various degrees. And it should be, for example, listen, people that understand these scriptures. That's why Christian ministers can take the same set of scriptures out of the Bible and give an entirely different sermon based on them and the current events. When I tell y'all, we got to get out. How can I say it? We got to get out of first looking at ourselves like things is not about you, and then getting out of the concept of being connotated and mixing teachings, and when all the teachings synchronize. And when all the teachings synchronize, that's why I'll be like, man, I don't think you know what you're talking about. And then when you show a person their literature and our more science literature, it testifies. It's synchronized. That's why, again, Moors, truth is but one. But Moors divine ministers. I'm a divine minister as well. We have the same latitude to interpret the Moorish Holy Quran in varied ways, grounded in current events, but stay in context to the one truth. Are you following what I just said, Morris? I hope y'all following. See, that's what I'll be saying. We are divine ministers. We use these teachings. These teachings should be used to correct us, if nothing else. That's why I'll be saying everybody's not a scholar. That's why I'll be laughing. I'm like, you should be having a Sunday school and service and using the Quran for current events, because people are not hurting in the same way. That's what these teachings are. How can you? That's what a divine minister of more science is about. It is more divine ministers. That's why I be laughing. I say I haven't been in the prisons teaching more science, man. We are divine ministers. Don't you know that? I mean, that's what I don't understand. It's more is locked up. So it's more is locked up. So who's going to go get them brothers out of the shallow grave? That's confused. Just like you was confused on the outside. We had to be out our shallow grave. We all must admit it. It was Moors that was brought up in Moorish science, but I know a lot of Moors that grew up in, our prophet grew up in Christian rite. We got to understand this. That's how we know who we are. Come on, man. Don't do that to other brothers that's coming into knowledge. Be literal with things. We must teach this Moorish science the same way those other teachings and those other false teachings, those outside religions do. Westernized European Christianity and Islam to teach you out a God outside yourself. That ain't what we teach in Moorish science. And that's why we need to have this set up. And that's why we need to have it I set up a school. So not only we can teach, it's Moorish that's lost all in type of ways. We must use this Quran to correct our behavior. I don't understand it, man. That's what this is about too. That's why I said, just how a preacher can break that Bible down, and I ain't saying break it down, but using the current events. That's why I'm saying that. But again, us Moors, we talk about the truth is but one, and I talk about Moorish divine ministers like myself and others. We have the same latitude to interpret the Moorish Quran in various ways, grounded in current events. But we stay in context. Remember, I always say have to be in context to the one truth. And in addition, Moors, I always want to avoid the distraction and their future discussion with Moor brethren that will go similar to this. This is what they say. I was taught, or I interpret this verse to mean that or that, and you are incorrect. That ain't what it's about. That's the same thing the preachers does. When you talk about, oh, I think or I believe, you shouldn't care nothing what I believe. Because right in the belief, it's a word called belie. And based on your belief, it can be, or your truth, you can be belied too. 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things to hold fast to what is good. So we don't take these teachings personally. And that's why I say when you get in religion and dogmatic, arbitrary, connotated religious dogma, the first thing a person to do is get mad. Because they want to preach that other, how can I say it, overseer gospel and taking these things out of context. But the approach taken in when I teach about how our Quranic study guide, how it assists us Moors in understanding the divine instructions from our holy prophet and the teachings that I give, that's holistic. I'm going to highlight the fundamental precepts being taught in the various verses, especially when I give the catechism of understanding our Moorish Quran. But to accomplish these Moors, I'm going to give key verses in our Moorish Holy Quran. And I'm going to cross-reference them with the Holy Quran and the Bible. When I told y'all things synchronizing, we missing things. And I'm saying, how can a person be studying Moorish science and you're negative? I said, that's not the teachings of the Moorish Quran. I'm going to synchronize everything. And we let the truth fall where it is. And then if a person still want to go under their own understanding, which is their lower self, you're not a noble. And that's not Moorish science. But in addition, Moors, to expanding your understanding of how to interpret the Moorish Holy Quran, I'm also going to cross-reference and inspire us to further your studies of those scriptures. It's a thing in scholarship when we call it intensive scholarly research, advanced studies. When a person will give you something to study, but you say, no, I'm gonna do my advanced studies. Because I'm a scholar. I hear what you're saying, but you're not gonna, how can I say it in the scholarship, give me program learning when you give me one concept and speak on it and you have nothing to compare to see what level they're trying to come, to see if it's arbitrary or linguistic apartheid. We must do that. We must break the language down. We have to. But with that, Moors, I want to show you some things that you must understand and interpret to the various chapters and verses of the Moorish Holy Quran. I'm going to show you how things synchronize. You got to pray to clear your head and focus. It's the same thing with our Moorish Salah, But how chapter in our Holy Quran and biblical references. Watch this. Watch this, y'all. Holy Quran, Surah 6, 103. That is Allah, your Lord. There is no God but He, the creator of all things. Therefore serve Him. And He has charge of all things. Verse 104. Vision comprehends Him not, and He comprehends all vision, and He is the subtile and aware. 105. Clear proofs have indeed come to you from the Lord. So whoever sees, it is for his own good, and whoever is blind, it is to him own harm, and I am not a keeper over you. Right? Now watch this. I mean, I'm just giving you a part of it. You got to remember that's the story of education of Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan in Egypt. I mean, I give y'all this all the time. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. When we start synchronizing it, man. Matthew 2, 13, 15. When I start synchronizing these teachings, man, where we get all that prejudice and all that missed teachings out of us, you know, because you've been taught wrong, and no one will admit the misteachings. No one will admit the misteachings. They'd rather buried under in a shallow grave. And y'all know what I'm talking about. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to teach this science the right way. So, with that little intro, because we're going to get back to that. And any questions that Moors want to know about that science, about the Moors Quran and our word book and things that I synchronize, I might go through another chapter. But I want to talk about this Fezz one more time, because a lot of people are misunderstanding what I'm meaning when I talk about receiving a degree regarding the Fezz. When I talk about the circle and the square, I'm going to show y'all this once again, how I put the circle in the square and the so-called swastika. All that can be synchronized, because all that 360 degrees. We're going to synchronize that. This is elementary wisdom, man. When I tell Moors science is understanding the essence of everything. More science ain't just listening to no one talk about no old stuff. We must be building and operate under the laws and nation build and use these teachings to correct ourselves. Just like any other organization. We are a religious organization per se. We got to get, how can I say it, connotated definitions that people bring and understand the duality and why the prophet set things up a certain way. Because we have religious laws. We have to understand this. So when we talk about clandestine and who were the Fezz in this, things are so clear. And that's why I said one of the tricks that Moors don't understand is things be right in front of your face. And we so blind to see it. But the hex alpha, the dual trine, the geometric representation of the Moabite, Mohammedan, man, y'all got to understand this. The Moorish Fezz, the Moabite, the Moorish woman, has given a crown of knowledge to her sons within the span of 9 months in the most illuminated school of the universe, which is the woman's womb. And the Fezz symbolizes her womb. So how can, off top, can Moors disrespect the woman? And that whole Fezz that we wear represents the womb. Especially the gold one, especially this one, it represents the woman womb. So how can a Moor say they some God and don't give the credit to the womb that created the God? Don't teach the teachings that the woman sits on the throne and the Trinity is man, woman creating life. That's immaculate conception. There ain't no mystery, nothing. You see how the teachings can be corrected? Simple science, man. That can't be refuted. But the Fezz, let's dig a little bit. Because the only way Moors learn is I'm going to repeat. And that's why I said when class starts, it's going to be beautiful. Class is going to be beautiful, man. Synchronized. But the Fezz is the ancient and modern national headdress of the Moabites, the Moors. And the Fezz is the brimless headdress, right? Most commonly produced in scarlet red with an ebony black tassel. The red Fezz is matched with the red field displayed in the Moorish national standard flag. The Fezz is also produced in black. In black. In black. Also white. Also white. Right? and other colors Moors, other variations, indicating other meanings, social orders and positions. Social orders and positions. When I tell people they begin caught up, when a person gets you caught up in their, how can I say it, one-sided, and I won't even call it history, I would call it religious dogma, because they're still trying to program learn when they say, look at the Moors, they killed them. And I'm like, man, and then I start showing real history, and I show you King Leopold, and he used that Fezz in that particular situation as part of a uniform by force. And then I show how Hitler, they study Islam, and his general and his people wore the Fezz. And he also had Chinese, blacks, all nationalities in his army. So that don't be meaning nothing. And I say Negroes kill Negroes today without nobody coming and into their own land, some by force and some willing. So we can definitely squash that, because that don't mean nothing. Negroes killing Negroes every day today, and we know that. But the black Fezz is the highest degree. The black Fezz is the highest degree. It's worn by the Mufti of Mohammedan judges, which are the Moors United Front towards Islam, enforcement and security. The one who wears it symbolizes that he, that she, that he, that she, that he, that she, that he, that she. Yeah, Hitler knew the science. I'll be telling y'all, man, everybody studied more science than Islam. They just connotated it. That's why I said if more a scholar, they know this. That's why I said there ain't no truth in them. They try to throw pieces at you and connotate you and get people to play off their emotions and get us off the real subject of the day, which is what? Restoring ourselves. But the one who wears it symbolizes that he, that she, knows law in full, and is able to defend it, including the knowledge of martial arts, defense physical, and spiritual, likened to the martial arts degrees of the black belt. The Fezz is worn as a symbol of the womb, and the top of the Fezz, Moors. The top of the Fezz has a nipple shape that symbolizes the navel. The strands of the tassel are 360 degrees, Moors, as in 360 degrees of knowledge. And the tassel is not pinned down, as it in the secret societies, Moors. And property, the free-flowing tassel, how the Fezz flows freely, is indication of one who is born of the womb, endowed with the aspiring to and beyond 360 degrees of knowledge. When I tell Moors 360 degrees, it's just material wisdom. We navigate upon the earth, and our potential is not limited, not pinned down, or kept secret. That's what I be telling Moors. I'm like, how can you say you a sheik and a deputy and nationality is the order of the day, and you keeping things secret? There's nothing secret with me. It's sacred because I keep it dear to my heart. If I say I have the keys, what, I'm going to bury them? I give the keys. I'm like, look, man, let's do this. But it's sacred. And the 4 sets. You see those 4 sets of air hose? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? The 4 sets of air hose are equal to the number of the woman, 9, and add to 13, the number of times a woman cycle per year, which is in tune with the cycle of the moon. Are y'all following me? So I'm going to give science, man. That's why the Fezz is the national headdress of the Asiatic Moorish nation of North, South, and Central. The Al-Moroccans per se. The Americans, including the adjoining islands Moors. Right? Right? That's why when we talk about the circular or the round ball. When we talk about the circular or the round ball, you see that? Of the tassel, it represents the mundane Moors. The mundane circle or the earth Moors. The cord wrapped around it. The cord wrapped around it. About the tassel strands hold the form of the circle. Arid, you right? And Arid represents the unity of life through the zodiac, right? Through that constitution of humanity. It also represents the cycle and that rotation, that nature of life, and the strands of the tassel, the strand of the tassel, the strands of the tassel. You see that? Represent the 360 degrees of the zodiac. The highest law of authority in civilization, and the zodiac crown of light, the national headdress of the mothers and fathers, the mothers and fathers, the mothers and fathers, the mothers and fathers of the human family, founders of the civilization. Islam for the donation. Right? Headdress of the mothers and fathers of the human family, founders of civilization and masters of the cosmos, 3rd, 33rd, and 360 degree master masons and eastern stars. That's who we are. This is a part of the hidden truth, which has been buried in the dark corner of the North Gate. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. The Fezz symbol of the eternal zodiac is also called a tarbouche, a tiara, a corona soul, and other names which describes its royal status, Moors. And the wearing of the Fezz regarding Masons of the clandestine orders. Fez is also the name of the old Moorish capital and city, which is located in northeast Morocco. And Morocco, or Moroccan, and Moors are one and the same pedigree and people, Moors. An American is a dialectical, a corruption of that name. That's why when we say Al-Moroccan, which means descendant or descendants of Moroccan, the lack of consciousness, Moors, of law and history on the part of the so-called Negro Black Mason Moors concerning the ancient history of the Americas has stagnated or retarded some ability to see through the veil of their own hoodwinking, Moors. And is the Fez the city in Europe? Absolutely not. Is the Fez the national headdress of, no disrespect, Europeans? Or is the Fez the national headdress of the Moors? Who is wearing the Fez only by ritual, Moors? And who should be wearing the Fez by right of national dress and culture? Who is the great controversy, Moors, of who is worthy to wear the Fez and who is not? Who is honoring their ancient mothers and fathers and who is not? Who is denying connection to Ruth, the Moabitess, which is in your biblical scripture, and who is not? By way of recognizing or not recognizing the origins of the great philosophies and wisdom found in the halls of learning called Masonry, Moors. See, Masonry is a system of disciplined learning. You see, we got to educate ourselves. That's why I say we got to re-educate ourselves. Masonry is a system of disciplined learning, Moors. So Moor is the pedigree and nationality of the direct descendant of the founders of the civilization and the ancient high science, the culture, the Gnosticism, the cosmology, the alchemy, the geometry, the algebra, the numerology, astrology, architecture, mathematics, and philosophies, Moors, from which Masonry draweth its wealth of knowledge, Moors. And thus Masonry is the high culture, the esoteric, and the Gnostic system, Moors, of learning Moorish history, science and culture, literally and factually, which was forced underground and veiled in the allegories, the stories of mysticism, signs and symbols, Moors. Are you following me? So when I speak of words, we must understand the etymology or the etymon of words. So when I speak on words like clandestine, and clandestine is an adjective meaning secret, concealed, sly, underhand, accomplished by improper means or by stealth, as a clandestine plan or act, seeking a benefit with fair, just or proper compensation. When you participate in it, or your input per se. Synonyms of the word clandestine include hidden, covert. Clandestine is derived from the old Moabite Moors Latin word clandestinus. Are you following me, Moors? That's why many have been mistaken to think that, no disrespect to no one, that European, no disrespect, who wear the Fezz in secret are the originators of the Fezz. And they are aware of the meaning and the purpose of the Fezz, as the crown worn by the Moorish nation, which represents the matriarch. But no disrespect, the European and the Negro, black and colored Masons, Prince Hall, Scott, all of them, no disrespect, they have usurped and stolen the crown and the birthrights. When I talk about Haram of beef. As well, they have utilized the science and high culture that's embodied and represented in wearing the Fezz, Moors, which is the science of the universe and the workings of nature and natural order, Moors. This is the one of the reasons why Noble Drew Ali said, and I always say, that a lot of people and principalities, they live off our virtues. And a lot of times when you use analogies like vampires, when your blood is being sucked, when that royal blood, when you are miseducated and has led to us misgiving and to a dark and ignorant place of not knowing, Moors. That's why we suffer of a lack of knowledge and argue against each other as to the origins of many things, including the Fezz. And many think the Fezz belongs to Turks without knowing that the original Turks are the Moors of the Ottoman Empire. I give this to y'all in books in Library of Congress. I'm paraphrasing. I gave it before. When I gave y'all the dot number from the books from the Library of Congress that I have, say that the original aboriginals of the land are the Moors and the Turks. And the Moors and the Turks were the same people. I mean, just what it is. Berber, Blackamoor, all the same. Pirates, all the same. They talk about that darkness, so don't get it twisted. And the Ottoman Empire being active in the world wars, which coincides with the 40s, wherein COINTELPRO charged Moors of the Moorish Science Temple, claiming that they were in agreements or in cahoots with Japan against the United States. Others think that the Fezz was originated and belonged to the Pale Arabs of today, and without knowing that the original Arabs are Moors. When you start doing real peer-reviewed scholarly research, and that some sold each other into slavery, even while wearing the Fezz, as what happens today. And I said, Negroes killing Negroes every day. My brother, killed Jelani Goodman Bay, was killed by a Negro, black and colored. So we got to get things totally right. I can name all my homies I grew up with was killed by Negroes. So what we talking about? That's why our prophet said, and I continue to state, be careful. Moors, some of your own people will put you back in slavery. A lot of times with false teaching and with lies. You know? Getting you caught up in crazy stuff. When I show people, look at what people wear the Fezz in secret. And with Al and Islam on it and everything. And then when I start showing stuff in the Library of Congress of different politicians and everybody with the Fezz on, with all your science on it, and you're not going to represent who you are. And you're going to let somebody tell you what the science is about. How can we? You know? These are the pictures when clandestine and secret societies where they perform rituals, take oaths to the demigods, and work hard to keep the light of the truth regarding the North Gate, North America, Northwest Amexima, Northwest Africa, closed to the masses, even unto the mothers and fathers of civilization, Moors, who in fact taught them. When you say, who is the son of a Muslim, Moors, taught the Europeans or the Albions, no disrespect, and brought them out of the dark ages. See, we weren't in no dark ages, Moors. Brought them out of the dark ages during the European Renaissance. When you look up the European Renaissance, man, they were dying and killing each other by the masses. They taught through Masonic orders, the Ma-Sun, right? The science of the universe, the sacred lessons of life and nature, in an effort to civilize them and bring them to the culture society. And no disrespect, during that time or that dispensation, the Europeans later created clandestine orders to keep the teachings amongst themselves. So what we especially want to show people in that picture of how not only were they wearing the Fezz, but written on their Fezz are Islam, El Bay, Muslim, Morocco, to show they are in fact aware of the Moroccan Empire and the subordinate kingdoms. These are facts. They also aware and practice Islam and know the true meaning of Muslim. And they are aware of the 5 noble titles, El, Bay, Day, Al, and Ali. I'm telling you, these titles were transferred and renamed as the 5 civilized tribes of acceptance during the so-called Indian agreement. And you got to understand, many are aware now that this is not India. And the people are indigenous or indigenous to the land. Written on the Fezz is Islam, Muslim, El Bay, Morocco. I mean, so don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, man, about the science and the truth. You let somebody explain to you from a westernized perspective. I'll be like, man, you sad. The world knows exactly who you are. And that's why I said when I teach other people, when I say I get a lower level Mason European, they know way more about your science than any more in any temple, because Moors don't study. They study so hard to keep the truth buried in a shallow grave. And then they wear it on their chest in memory of a ram of beef. This science is right. Adapted to our noble titles, you know? So it's nothing secret. We got to come back to the state of mind of our ancient forefathers and foremothers, the fathers of civilization, the aboriginal masters of the 7 seas, and the aboriginal and the indigenous inhabitants of the land. It's simple. And then when I start talking about the doctrine of the discovery, it should be simple. Like I said, I got elementary students, like real kids in elementary. I make it simple for a child can understand it. It should be that way. This is not complex. Five pillars of Islam. I, self, Lord, Master. I, from the creator of the universe, representing the mother and the child. From hence we came. What's that is? That's man, woman, child. That's the Trinity. This is simple teachings. The S, self. Each one of us is a Trinity. This being the symbol of civilization. When we talk about what? And you got the peak, the mystic cornerstone, the L, the compass and a square with the G in the middle. Law. Everything is measured on a compass and a square. The length, angle, and width of the cosmic energies that mark who? You, me, everyone. The A, when you got the so-called people want to call it the swastika, I call it the chakra. You got to depend on the context you're coming in. The so-called 6-point star. You got the N up top, S at the bottom, G and the 7 in the middle. That's the A or the Ein, and that's the joining of the two trinities, male and female principles. The truant, which creates another what? I am. And then what? Sustainability, the circle with the line in the middle. When I tell you that's 360 degrees, you got what? 33, 33, 33, 3, 33, 3, 33, 3. Each particular one, what you got? 90, 90, 90, 90, north, south, east, west. That's the master. That's sustainability. And this being the glyph for the planet Earth, of which we are on and aspire to be master navigators upon, Moors. So watch this. I already established some things. Sorry, y'all. I gotta get some libations, and I even got in part 2 yet. Wait, the part 2 I said these teachings are simple. I already made it clear that the Fezz represents the woman or the womb. The 4 sets of the breathing holes. I already told y'all. The 4 sets of the breathe holes. Count up to or spell out a numerological, the sacred number of 9. Watch this. The sacred number. I'm telling y'all. Watch this. Every more should know this, and we're going to teach it. But it sends out the sacred number of 9 plus 4 equals 13. That's the cycle of the moon and the cycle of the woman in harmony with the moon. And the white Fezz. The white Fezz. You hear y'all? Y'all hear me? The white Fezz represents purity, symbolic of what? The womb. Symbolic of the womb. And the Moabite nation flag, the matriarch, is white with a gold crescent and star. And the crescent represents the mother and child, the mother cradling a child, more specifically Moors, the mother and sons, as she easily duplicate herself, but to transform a female egg into a male specimen is the miracle that she has created the miracle son, the prodigal son from her womb. Y'all follow me? Moors, are y'all following me? Somebody talk to me. Somebody talk to me. Somebody talk to me, man. Somebody talk to me. So when you think about the Daughters of American Revolution, the DAR, somebody should be like Islam. But you find out that they began charters as far back as the 1890s in Northgate, Northwest Amexima Moors, Northwest Africa, the heartland of the Temple of the Sun and the Moon. And the Moorish nation flag is the flag of her sons, Moors. It is it's red with a 5-pointed green star. Venus, the mother, in the center, Moors. And when she became unconscious, the flag of her sons was flown, Moors. And it represents the great bloodshed ensued upon the land, and many divisions and tongues, false prophets, and mass destruction. And all that happened. But this bloodshed was not only in death of the human form of many Moors, but it represented the flow of shedding the blood to make up every other nation, Moors. And the scepter, if you will, it was passed to her sons while she lay unconscious. And it is not to the son's fault, as it was she who caused the great destruction, and it will be she who repairs it. Her awakening is, or will be, the great wrath of Allah. More, do y'all know what I just said? Who did the Prophet Noble Drew Ali have in his arms with fallen humanity? We await, I wait. This is the thing we got to understand. We got to be clear on our teachings, man. We got to be clear on our teachings. So what was the Daughters of American Revolution against Moors? Their establishment was based on the promotion of historic preservation, education, and patriotism, Moors. And that's it. That's right, Noble. They are directly against the matriarch, which is the Republican form of the government here in America. And a republic is based in matriarchal principles, not patriarchal Moors. And their revolution certainly was not inclusive of the Moorish, the Moabite, the Asiatic, African women nobles. As she still thinks there is a revolution to come, and rightfully so, as it is her revolution that must occur in order for humanity to live on, to live on in harmony. And she must wake up and recognize that she is the mother and daughters of the American Revolution, and that they are revolting against her sons, of which they, the daughters, were in concubines for. I hope y'all following this science, man. The Moabite, the Moorish, Asiatic, the African woman must recognize using and teaching her daughters to use the science of the number 9. That's what we teach. Science of the womb, to invoke the powers and purpose of her womb to bring the children of great Moors. As to the current, and as that occurrence can only happen as it relates to her and her womb, and any of that is uncivilized. We got to bring this connection back, man. That's why the development of a fetus, Moors, the Muslim in the 7 stages of development upon the waters of her womb, Moors, is then cut from the navel. The navel, when we're talking about the Fezz, from the navel, right? From the navel, and becomes what? A navigating L upon what, Moors? The 7 waters of the continent. Y'all following that? And the daughters of the American Revolution were well aware of the science of the womb. And they utilize it in their revolt against their history, right? Of their own history, of being concubines of the Moorish sons. I hope y'all following me when they get y'all caught up in that fake stuff. And that's their history. And that is what they revolt against, Moors. And even though the sons treated them fairly well, much better than their own sons, as their own sons were placed in isolation in caves of Europe, where they partook in certain things that they did. But we ain't got to go there. That's why the Moorish sons had the women. And this is proven when you do studies that unveil the so-called white woman being traversed down the Barbary coast, behind the so-called black men per se. And many saw that as a form of slavery or capture for the European daughters. But however, Moors, it was the course of events regarding their creation and placement, and the intercourse with them brought about blended nationalities. It had nothing to do with traveling down the Bering Straits or the Great Diaspora. That didn't happen that way, Moors. We got to understand things. No disrespect to no one. We just give true history. History is recorded. And no disrespect. The Albion daughters of the American Revolution wanted to be free from their past history and free to create their own reality. And they came a very long way and are proud of their accomplishments. And they utilized the womb and create sons who were endowed with their direct psyche. So we got to understand certain things. If things come up, things are taught. Hate is taught from the womb. That's why when I said things are imparted from the womb to come out with certain demeanors of certain hate, to destroy it. That's why we got to have a different view when we see the daughters now wanting to be linked back to the Moorish sons. And it's in their DNA. And it's also in the DNA of different races or Albions to have a distaste and genuine fear of the Moorish sons. It's just what it is. This is nature. I hope y'all following me, man. All men do the bidding of the woman. All men do the bidding of the woman. And this is a fact. And it's their duty. Everyone is a Muslim. And as a Muslim is a fetus, muscle, bones, tissues, or Muslim, the same. Muscles and limbs. And this is why they wear the Fezz with Muslim, Islam, El Bay, and Morocco, amongst other ancient writings upon them. And it's clear that they are modern man, and we are ancient man. They are not and cannot ever be ancient man because there's no ancient history. And the daughters of American Revolution are the ones who created the citizenship manual for all of those who came into the shores of America, Moors. So part 1 is ended. Y'all log back on. We're going to finish this and we're going to jump right in part 2. So Islam, log back on, Moors. We finna finish part 2. Peace.
Oh, shoot. That look good.
Babe, where's my extension cord?
Don't ask me what none of that.
My extension cord.
Bringing all that stuff in here.
No, cause I can't see right here. This ain't bright.